But yeah, so I think it's time that we kick off the podcast properly. I'm sure many of you who are regular listeners remember from the last podcast, Will talked about his relationship with Ruby. And so the first question I have for you, Will, and then
Mm,
we're going to ask the same question to Ruby,
hit me, hit me.
it's quite a deep one, and that is, do you love each other?
Cool.
No. I think
Yes.
it's not like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's been 3 years now, and it's just a definite yes. I've loved her for 3 years. So since I've met her, since I've started talking to her. So, yeah, it's been a journey. But yeah, definitely, 100%. It's not really a question.
Fair enough, Ruby.
Ruby?
Yeah, of course I love him. Not just as a boyfriend, but also a best friend. I think that's the difference between like a good relationship and a great one.
I think the interesting thing that you picked up on, Will, is you said it's been a journey. Like, can you go into a bit more depth about that in terms of what do you mean by journey?
Okay. Well, I remember last time I was on the podcast, I shared a story of the L's that I took
Yes.
for coming to the final W. So obviously from that, I was taking multiple L's, numerous. So to get from there to where we are now, 3 years on, but also the whole relationship as a whole, we've had ups and downs, everyone does. But to get to where we are now and to keep going in the right direction, even through all that, like it takes perseverance, but also like it's testament to how much we do love each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting one because I've come across a lot of people. They talk about how there's clinch points within your school career, right? You know, like your GCSEs, starting your A levels or IB, and that whole transition to becoming a young adult and everything. And do you think like sort of your relationship sort of could be defined by those points, or is it a little bit more in different directions, and actually the ups and downs are not necessarily linear to what we would equate to in those clinch points?
Well, I think we talk about this quite a lot. We obviously go to different schools, but for us that's been quite a positive thing because we've always kind of prioritized our education. We both understand that comes first as much as we want to prioritize each other. We have to work hard and keep our heads down and focus on that as much as we can. So as much as it is nice to have kind of a support system throughout these clinch points, through GCSEs, we've worked hard together, and it's nice to get the results at the end of that, knowing that we got through it together. But I think we are able to keep quite a good balance between, relationship life and school life, which helps through going to different schools.
And like, I feel as if I think I said this last time as well. I feel like being in a relationship actually helped me specifically, maybe not her so much, but it helped me with my GCSEs because she was always revising. If she wasn't revising, then I didn't really have anything to do except revise. So I feel like through how dedicated she is to the work made me push myself more, and like it wasn't a competition at all, but like I didn't want to flop my GCSEs, and you know what I mean? So I had to kind of pull my weight a bit more than I think I would have if we weren't together. So I feel like, and also I had that constant help. I didn't necessarily like need to look stuff up when I didn't get something, or like we helped each other through the whole period. So I feel like it really worked for us and for me specifically because it meant that I put in more work and I also got the help when I needed help, and I could also help her when she needed help, and we could work together.
Yeah, I remember you discussing that last year. I think we asked the question last year whether it was a distraction or not, and it was the same answer. You support each other, and I think that's something sometimes people often overlook when endeavoring upon a relationship, and it's that you have that support mechanism, which is the other person. And then just drawing back to the last question, and you both very confidently said that you do love each other. And then I think the main question that many people have is, what is love in maybe both in the platonic sense and the romantic sense?
I'll take the stage with this one. Okay, so I mean, obviously my love for Will is different to my love for my friends, but they're equally distributed, I'd say. But I think love in a relationship is more about understanding that you have to sometimes, you know, sacrifice, or you have to look out for someone's feelings as much as your own, which helps you develop like a lot of qualities such as compassion and, you know, not being selfish is a big thing in a relationship, whereas your relationship with your friends is a bit more limited and has more boundaries, I'd say. Also in a relationship, you know, you've got quality time is really important together, so your weekends will be kind of our weekends, at least because we don't go to school together, are usually seeing each other, which my friends I see every day at school, and so that kind of balances out in the end. But I love both my friends and Will just as much.
When you say boundaries, what do you mean by like boundaries within the friendship?
I think boundaries with friends are a bit different in terms of, personally, I don't express my emotions with my friends as much as I would with Will, at least. He knows me better than anyone else, really. So he sees like an emotional side of me that might not come out with my friends. I think those are the boundaries I set, at least, which might be different to other people.
Will, how's that for you?
Yes, the exact same. I agree. I feel like she knows me better than anyone else, and I feel more comfortable just expressing my feelings and how I actually feel, like, because obviously you guys know the happy side, and we'll always see the happy side or but there's certain aspects of my character that I'm less likely to put on show to those around me besides her, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because in drama we did an exercise like for the school play where it's like you have to define what love is, and most people actually resorted to the terms like heartbreak and a lack of trust and like those sort of negative connotations. I don't know, what's your opinion on that? In the
Wait,
sense
can you
that
explain how do they link love
that's
to
what I'm
like
confused about, because
love?
I always think love is something so positive, but then when I saw them that they were linking it to heartbreak,
I
I
guess
guess
it's your experience.
yeah, it's
Okay,
that flip side of love as well.
that's
I mean,
personal experience
personally,
now.
yeah, I think we're lucky in the sense we've obviously been together for so long. I've never experienced heartbreak in the way that people might have, and so personal experience is different. But I think love should always be a positive thing. You know, you should never come into something feeling negative about it. Love for your family or friends or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's always a positive thing.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think love's the foundation for like a lot of like just good in your life. Like I think that's the important thing, because when we say what do we define by love, like there's so many things. You can love someone, but you can love something as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's just like, I mean, there's an important distinction in that point, but I don't know. I think when we say what do we define by love, we have to look at it's so multifaceted.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to explore. Anirudh, how would you define love?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. I would say it would be similar to what both of them have said. Is that trust, being able to open yourself up to someone, show them your vulnerable side. I think then only I think when you're confident with the other person to be your true self, then I would say then you're in a loving relationship. But also say it would have to be a two-way street. If it's loving someone, um, I think if only one person loves someone and they don't love you back, then that's not true love, because love, I think, needs to go both ways. And so with that, and
Oh, sorry.
I don't continue.
I was just saying that that's why I wanted to say that's why I want to talk about in terms of like loving the other person. I feel like you have to, it's then about, as Ruby said, like taking into account their feelings and what their emotions, even though you might be different people in that ways, and you might not necessarily think that, oh, that means this or this means, you know what I mean? As if something that might upset her might be small to me, or something that upsets me might be small to her, but it's about like understanding that that's the other person's feelings that are not necessarily going to always align with how you would have taken that, or it would have affected you. And so you have to be able to just be more caring and understanding of what the other person feels, because it's not necessarily going to be the same as how you would feel in that situation.